Hello everyone. So this is Swati Shastri taking a session on computer networks and security. Before going to the today's lecture, let us just have a review of what did we do in the last class. So in the last class, we have actually covered or studied about socket programming, and we have tried to do socket programming using UDP. UDP stands for User Datagram Protocol. So to perform socket programming, or we can say that we to have a communication between server and client, uh, we have utilized a protocol, and that protocol was UDP, which was present in the transport layer. And we have done this particular communication using socket programming is what we have learned in the previous class. So to continue with today, let us study about socket programming but using TCP. So let us just have an overview of what a socket is, how socket programming is done between client and server, what should happen to the socket programming when TCP is used, and we'll just see a small sample code of how TCP is being executed using a Python code. Okay, so this belongs to Bloom's taxonomy level 2 because we are just trying to understand things, whatever is present in the market, and we are not yet applying anything. Okay, so to start with, let us learn what is a socket. So socket is always called as a door between any application process and an end-to-end protocol. So you have lots of protocols over here. So it is a door between your process and the TCP or a UDP protocol that is running. Okay, so if you want to consider the interior part of a socket, so socket is nothing but it is something like some client is going to switch to some part of the network, or we can say that like specific part of it, so that's why it is called as a socket. But whenever you consider it as TCP is more efficient in and it is more reliable. So let us learn socket programming. I mean, using these sockets, where sockets are present on every client as well as on every server. So using these sockets, how should we do programming with TCP is what we are going to learn today. So whenever you consider socket programming or any TCP kind of code, so usually we make use of these things whenever we have a specific paradigm, and that paradigm is called as client server paradigm. So always you have a client in that and a server in that. So when you are using this paradigm, so you have to keep certain things in your mind before you start coding with these things. What are those things is what we'll see today. So first is client must contact the server. So let us take an example over here. We have a client, a lady who want to request something, request a piece of cake from the bakery. Okay, she is a customer, so customers are definitely clients. Any person who is going to provide a service like bakeries, they are called as servers. Okay, so bakery will never come and give you the cake if you do not ask for, correct? So being a client, being a customer, I need to request the bakery saying that I'm interested in having a cake. So client must always try to contact server. The second point that we need to remember is that server process must first be running. Why is that so? If a lady wants to request or buy a cake, whenever you want to buy a cake from a bakery, the first thing is that the bakery must be kept open. If bakery is not open, you cannot order a cake, right? So before the client is going to request the server must be open. That is, it must be first running. Only then a client can send a request to the bakery, otherwise, or the server. Otherwise, you have no request that is going to reach that particular process. Next thing is that server must have created the socket, that is the door, the door of the bakery that welcomes the client so that it can have a contact. So the bakery usually, if they are open, they display the word saying that open, correct? So that the client understands that the bakery is open and he can come and purchase anything. So the same thing occurs in the client server kind of a contact and with TCP also. So when you consider this, client, it usually contacts server, but how does he contact the server? He contacts the server by creating a local TCP socket. So the lady has to make a call for the bakery. At least she has to make a call for the bakery saying that she's in need of a cake or she's trying to order a cake. At least a call, or she has to herself go to the bakery. Correct? So that is called as a socket. The moment she calls the bakery, that time we call that as TCP socket. So client can contact server using its own client local TCP socket. So whom does she call? Whenever she's calling, she dials the number of the bakery. So that number of the bakery is called as an address of that bakery. So even here, whenever client is trying to contact the server, so client will make use of server's IP address and port number, which is the address of the server's process, and then make a request or then make a call. Okay, so when client creates a socket, client TCP establishes the connection to the server TCP. So whenever the call is engaged or the call is being received from the server, then the connection is being established and you have a conversation. So bakery will start responding back. So when contacted by the client, server TCP creates new socket so that server process can communicate with the client. So bakery is going to respond back saying that yes, we are having cakes and we will be sending you the cake, or will be delivering you the cake, or maybe that if you are at the same place, maybe you will go and receive the cake. Anything of that sort, kind of communication, that is the bakery is going to respond you back to your call, correct? So it allows the server to talk with the multiple clients. Usually TCP, when you consider, it can, like, when you have a bakery, so bakery is not going to serve a single client, correct? So bakery can serve multiple clients at the same time. Multiple customers are there at the same time until and unless he has those number of cakes. That is called as number of connections. Okay. So with the limited number of cakes, he is going to serve a limited number of clients. At the same time, once the cakes are over or finished off, he cannot serve any of the clients, right? So we can relate these cakes to connections. So bakery or the server has a certain set or number of connections. So using those number of connections, it can serve those many clients at a time. If there are no connections available, that is sockets available at the server, it cannot serve that particular client. The client has to wait until and unless the cake gets ready, right? So source port numbers are usually used to distinguish between the clients. Whatever clients, it's something like client's address, your order number. Your order number is different from each other, from every client, right? It is different from each other. So like those distinguished numbers is going to recognize that particular customer. Even here, the distinguished port number between clients is going to address the number of the client. Okay, so using this kind of a contact between server and client, we try to establish a communication between them so that client gets his service from the server. So if you consider from an application point of view, TCP is always reliable in order transfer of bytes, and it is always working between client and server. Okay, so what is the meaning of reliable? Reliable in the sense, at any cost, bakery, if you order a cake for a bakery, so bakery will never fail. He's always trying to give you the best cake he can, and he will make sure that the cake will reach you. And it is an in order transfer of bytes. If you're ordering the cake today, doesn't mean that bakery is going to deliver your cake tomorrow, right? So on the day of your order, the bakery is going to satisfy your order, correct? So that is what is done by TCP. So it is going to transfer your cake within that specific time, and as well as intact. It will make sure that how the cake was being designed according to your interest, in the same design the cake will be reached to you. It is not like it is not being altered or disrupted, correct? So it always gives an in order transfer of bytes. So this is how TCP is going to perform. So if we now speak with a perfect aspect of your client and server process, whenever you consider a client is a normal machine, that is a machine like you and me. Server are bigger machines in comparison to your normal systems, which is going to provide a specific service. It doesn't provide very many services, it provides a specific service. Now, how is the communication that is going on between client and server using TCP? Let us see it in the technical aspect. Okay, so if this is my process of client, I have a socket which is a door. So client is always working inside this usually. So if it wants to send something outside, it has to send it outside this door only. Okay, so client is having only one socket. Now client wants to contact the server. So what it is doing? Through this particular door, it creates or requests a kind of a contact to the server. Now, when it is server, you can see the timeline of this. Before the client starts, server has already started. So the bakery must be open so that customer can request it, correct? So it has already started. This is the timeline, okay? So the server has already started. It has kept its doors open. So to these doors, you have a request that is being sent from the client. So client performs a three-way handshake. Three-way handshake is a confirming statement of connection for TCP. So if you're making use of TCP, three-way handshake is mandatory. Rather, three-way handshake is not being performed whenever you are utilizing UDP instead of TCP. Okay, so via the client socket, the server is going to connect to the client. So whenever I have the request from the client being waiting under welcoming socket, this will create a new door, open that door, and via that door it will try to contact the client so that the communication between client and the server socket is happening on this particular socket itself and not on the welcoming socket. Why is this done? So that the welcoming socket can even process the incoming packets from the other clients. So the theory behind this is that when the welcome socket has accepted the client's connection, it opens a new socket and using that socket it is going to contact the client socket. So this new connection socket, when it is open, this welcome socket is again sitting idle. So when this sits idle, if there is any other client process going to come in and request the service, this particular client socket can utilize that, or can serve that particular client. So parallelly, the server is capable of holding two clients or maybe even more number of clients, as much as it can open, as much as sockets it can open. So sockets will be opened based on the resources present in the server. So this is not happening in the UDP side, because we do not have this permanent kind of a tunneling kind of a connection between client and server. But TCP is always going to support that. So to have this particular client and server socket interaction, what is the procedure is what we'll see. So server, when it is running on the host ID, this is the one who is going to start first. So what does it do? It first creates a socket at a port number X. So port number of this particular server is always fixed. It is not like client often changes. So it's creating a socket. Which socket is it creating? It is going to always create a welcome socket first. Okay, so it never creates the second socket. It is always keeping that particular first socket open so that it can accept certain requests. After creating the socket, it might create a connection socket via accept whenever client is going to send any particular connection. So at the same time, whenever client starts its socket, so we are opening a client socket. So this client socket is interested in port number X. So port number X is actually served by the server. So client will start making a TCP connection. So this TCP connection is being accepted by a function called as accept, which will be the part of welcome socket. So connection socket, that is the second socket of your server, is always an outproduct of your first socket. So if you do not have the first socket, you will never get the second socket. It is not possible to have. So once it accepts the connection, so that particular approval is being sent to the client, and client will start requesting or start sending the requests via the client socket. The moment it sends certain request via the client socket, the server will receive all the things sent by the client socket on the connection socket. After the connection socket receives that, whatever client has promised, whatever services the client has promised, it will do that, and it will write a reply or send a reply onto the connection socket towards the client socket. So client socket at that moment will read the reply and will stop or close that connection. So what server is doing, after writing the or after sending the reply to the server, it closes this connection socket and it moves back to the welcome socket. That is, it intimates the welcome socket saying that the connection socket's work is over and the resources which were being allocated to the connection socket can be reused or utilized for the other clients who are sending the requests. So this is how the procedure of server and client is going to work in with respect to TCP. Now if I want to make a comparison between TCP and UDP, UDP never closes the connection. It always, that is, it never closes the socket. First basic thing is that UDP never has two sockets on the server side. It is always having a single socket. There is only one door. It is something like a room with two doors. So first you open the first door. So from first door you take up the request saying that someone wants to enter in. If he wants to enter in, what you do is you ask him to wait, open the second door, you ask him to come from the second door. Okay, so that if you have third person coming in, you can entertain him on the first door. Okay, so when you have kept, I mean, when the room has kept the second door open, whenever and you are entering inside, you enter inside, you finish your work and you leave. The moment you leave, the second door is going to intimate the first door saying that my work is over and that particular door can be closed, so that if there are anybody else who is trying to enter in through the same door, he can utilize that door, right? So this is the concept behind TCP. So if you want to see the small part of coding, let us address the same example that we addressed in UDP. The example was that client wants to read a sentence from the keyboard. The sentence that is being read is being sent to the server. The server has to convert the sentence from lowercase to the uppercase, and server has to respond back to the client. Client, after getting that modified message that is being converted from lowercase to the uppercase, has to display it on the screen. So let us start with that. So to start with that, you can see here you have the first statement, that is a socket import statement that is going to import all your library files that is required. We are first writing the client program. So client first specifies what must be the name of the server and then specifies what must be the name of this, number of the port. So for this server and for this port, it is going to make a contact. Now, so how can it make a contact? Without creating a socket, it cannot make a contact. So it creates a socket onto the client side. How to create a socket? The socket is being created using a function called as socket function. So socket function is using two parameters. Which are those? First parameter, it says that it is using AFINET, which is an IPv4 packet format. So AFINET represents IPv4, and socket also tells that the kind of socket used is sock stream. So sock stream is going to represent TCP. So sock stream is going to represent TCP. So you have opened a client socket wherein this socket can entertain only an address of IPv4 format, and whatever contact is going to happen, so this is going to happen via TCP. So why you need to mention? Because TCP is going to use your three-way handshake. Okay, so if you give that it is sock stream, only then three-way handshake is going to occur. So via the client socket, you send a request to the server for the sake of connection. So to connect, whom should I connect? I have to connect to the specific server name onto that particular port. So when I send connect, obviously the server will accept this particular connection if it is sitting free. If it is not free, it cannot accept the connection, but 99% it is going to always accept your connection. So once it is connected, what you are doing, you are reading a sentence. So to read, you are making use of a function called as raw_input, which is a part of Python itself. So what sentence are you reading? You are trying to read the sentence in the lowercase. After reading the sentence, you want to send that message to the server via the client socket. So client socket is going to send the message. Which message? The message that was being read in the sentence is being sent through client socket. To whom? To the server. Now when server receives this sentence, it will convert into uppercase and send back to the client. So when it is sending back to the client, what should a client do? Client has to accept or receive the message on client socket itself. So whatever the message is being received from the server, it is being dumped into modified sentence, that is this variable, and finally you trying to print this particular variable. After printing the variable value, what you do is you are going to try to close the connection, that is close your client socket. You are closing the door, correct? So this is what is going to happen on the client side. What should be done on the server side? When you consider server at max performs, first thing is it has to call all your libraries. So first statement is fixed. Next, server has a fixed port number. It knows its address. It is least bothered about the address. So it is always concentrating on the port number. It has a fixed port number, that is 12,000 right now. So after the fixed port number, first it has to create a socket, which is a welcoming socket. So we create a server socket using the same function, that is socket, which can accept IPv4 as well as TCP. So it is not a UDP kind of a socket, it is a TCP kind of a socket which is kept open. So when the door is kept open, server has to bind itself for a specific port number so that it can declare its own address. So client is identifying the server based on IP address and port number, right? So server has to bind itself for the port number so that client can identify that. So once your bind is done, server will sit and listen for the connection or the request for the connection from the client. So at a same time it can accept only one connection. So if I change this number to 2, at the same time it can accept 2 connection. So at max I can have 5 connections, not more than that. At the same time, whenever the client requests the server for the connection at the same time, that time it can accept that. So listen is going to wait until and unless client will not send the connection request. Once I have the connection request, it will print that the server is ready and it will enter into a while loop. When it enters into a while loop, it creates a connection, new connection socket via the accept command. So accept is the function which is present in server socket. Server socket is nothing but an object. So server socket is an object of class socket itself. So server socket is having a function called as accept, which will accept the connection from the client, and this accepted connection is being linked to the new socket that is created, and that socket is called as connection socket, and the address of that server is being stored in the ADDR variable, that is address of that particular client is being stored over here. Now when this particular address is being stored and connection is being accepted onto the new socket that is getting created, that is called as connection socket, then what we do is we want to fetch the sentence. When we fetch the sentence from the client socket, we receive the sentence from the client, correct? So from the client we get this particular sentence. Now what we have to do, I being a server have to modify this sentence from the lowercase to the uppercase. So I create a new variable, that is capitalized sentence I create, and I convert this sentence into uppercase. After converting the sentence into uppercase, I have to send this particular sentence back to the client. How to send it? I have to send it via connection socket using function send. So using function send, I have to send the sentence to the client via connection socket. After sending it, I will be closing the client connection. I'm not closing server socket. I'm closing only the connection socket so that present working client will be closed. Okay, so this is how you perform client and server. So what have you done today is you have learned what is client, what is server, and how client and server can contact using a socket under TCP. So this is actually going to wind off your module 1. Just to have a summary of what we did in whole of the module 1 is our study was concentrating on network apps, And we have studied that how application architectures are there. You have two kinds of architectures basically, client and server architecture, and we have known that we have P2P architecture. You may have an architecture which is combination of client and server as well as P2P. We have learned that what are the requirements or service requirements of an application. Usually we require reliability, bandwidth as well as delay. We have also seen that what internet transport service model speaks about. It always speaks about two kinds of services. One is reliable and unreliable. Reliable is supported by TCP, unreliable by UDP. We have also seen certain specific protocols and their working, like HTTP, which was hypertext transfer protocol running on web servers. And we have seen a protocol that is FTP, that is file transfer protocol, running on remote servers to extract files as well as send the files. We have also seen a protocols like SMTP, which stands for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, so that you can transfer a mail from a sender to the receiver. And we have seen POP3 as well as IMAP. POP was Post Office Protocol, which was used to fetch the mail from my mailbox, and IMAP was also used for the same, which was an improvement made on POP3. We have also learnt about DNS, which is domain name systems, that is going to convert your domain name into a IP address. And we have also seen a P2P, that is peer-to-peer architecture. We have seen how BitTorrents work, and we have also seen how Skype is going to work. And lastly, what we did was we have covered what socket programming is. So most importantly, we have learned about protocols, is that like typically every protocol which is making use of HTTP is always going behind request and reply messages. Like client is always going to request for service and server is always going to respond for the service. So message has certain formats, it has certain headers as well as data. So header fields are giving information about the data, and data is information that is to be communicated. So important themes that we have learnt under this section is that you should be knowing the difference between control messages and data messages. So what is a control message? We have come across this in FTP, that is file transfer protocol. Control message is a message wherein you have whatever control parts that you exchange, like open a file, list a file, delete a file, keep the file. So these things are control messages. The data of that particular file is the data message. So control messages can be an in-band, that is using the same bandwidth of that particular data message, or can be an out-band. We have also seen one more thing, that is centralized and decentralized. Centralized in the sense everything is at one single place, and decentralized in the sense it is distributed. Especially we have concentrated this part for DNS. We have also seen the meaning of being stateless and stateful. So HTTP, when you consider, it is a stateless protocol, but we try to keep the state information. So stateless in the sense server is never going to keep what or at what point the server was last being served. We have also differentiated between other two words, that is called as reliable and unreliable. So reliable is always TCP, that is you can depend on. Reliable in the sense you can depend on someone, right? So reliable is TCP, unreliable is UDP. And we have also seen the complexity of the network at the network edge and how it can be solved. So in the next class, we'll be starting with the new module, that is the second module regarding transport layer. So thank you.